Türkiye Sermaye Piyasaları Kongresi dijital ortamda devam ediyor.
The Capital Market Congress is continuing on a digital platform, and we are going to talk about digital transformation and future scenarios is going to be the subject of our next session. But before we get into this panel, we have a honorary guest speaker, Mr. Philip Vallée. He's from the Thales Group, Digital Identity and Security Executive Vice President, and will give you some basic, introductory words.
At Thales. He is in charge of the digital identity and security activity. Today, he will talk to us about the opportunities and the challenges of digital transformation. Mr. Vallée?
Hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me to your Turkish Capital Market Summit. I'm very glad to be with you this afternoon. This is virtually. This situation, by the way, is the perfect example that digital transformation is everywhere. Not long ago, most probably, I would have been with you physically, but technology makes it possible today. Digital is transforming the way we work, we communicate, we entertain, we travel, or not, by the way. It transforms all aspects of our lives. And the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated, if anything, this transformation. All of the services we have been increasingly using, like online shopping, home working, e-government, remote healthcare, rely on two things, in my view. One, trusted identities, and two, a lot of data. Huge amounts of data are being created, processed, stored. And the use of data in the digital world offers opportunity, definitely, but also creates multiple challenges. Technical challenges, security challenges, privacy challenges, to name a few. Here in Turkey, this transformation is at work too, both in business and governmental. The Digital Transformation Office has launched major initiatives covering many aspects of this transformation and the management of data. For example, there is an important initiative to create a national data dictionary with the purpose to establish a common language among public institutions, prepare a national data inventory, standardize the data while making it singular, and determine data ownership and data responsibilities. This will help to locate, categorize, use, and protect the data. Another important project is about a public AI, artificial intelligence ecosystem established under the coordination of the Big Data and Artificial Intelligence Application Department. Of course, artificial intelligence is part of the digital transformation. It is even, I should say, a revolution in itself. Turkey, though, thought about AI very early, thanks to the famous Turkish mathematician, Ordinarius Professor Kait Harf. He was a pioneer with his publication on AI in 1959, when he wrote, "Can machines think, and how can they think?" Well, we are 60 years later, and there are still many questions about artificial intelligence, and Thales is bringing answers in that domain with what we call true AI. And what do we mean by true? This is an acronym. We mean transparent, understandable, and ethical. AI already affects much of what we do. We believe at Thales, humans are crucial to critical decision-making. We believe cooperation between human and machine is key to meet the world's greatest challenges. Thales' way of doing AI is with humans always at the heart of the process. Our approach is to build a trustable AI to think smarter, act faster, and master an ever greater complexity due to this digital transformation at work. AI and technology in general needs to be deployed in a robust legal framework. An example is its use in biometric recognition. This technology can help us identify people, of course, when they cross the border or criminals at the scene on a crime. But the algorithm should be robust enough to work correctly. And I think, a real person should be involved whenever there is any doubt. I cannot speak about the digital world and its challenges and the use of data without talking about another very important trend, which is what we call the cloud transformation, or the move to cloud of many, many enterprises, and this is accelerating. This is an important topic in every country because of privacy and sovereignty. These are important topics in my home country, in France, and Thales recently announced a strategic partnership with Google Cloud, actually, to co-develop a trusted cloud offer in France. This joint offer will meet the French government trusted cloud requirements, which are France's highest legal and technical sovereignty requirements. And this cooperation with Google will enable any French organization to innovate and fully benefit from the hyperscale capabilities from our partner, while keeping their data very confidential, secure, and fully sovereign. By this, we mean that the data will remain within the country. They can migrate enterprises, can migrate their most sensitive applications and data to the cloud while maintaining the control. So this facility, these capabilities will be created by having 2 data centers created or based in France within infrastructure that is separate from the Google mainstream cloud with a separate network and some dedicated servers. This is something, by the way, that can be replicated anywhere in the world. And this is something that could be done also in Turkey. In the digital world, data protection is a must. Why? Because the question is not so much about if the company will be cyber attacked, but really when it will be attacked. Data breaches continue with regularity, and compliance is becoming more stringent. And we have a very important regulation in Europe we call the RGPD, the GDPR, the Global Data Protection Rule, which is what every country, every enterprise needs to apply. So organization needs to protect their sensitive data, both in the cloud and in their actual premises, we call the on-premise data, especially with the recent increase of remote working due to the COVID-19 pandemic, where many workers, many employees are now working outside of the wall of the enterprise. We issued this year our annual data threat report. We interviewed companies worldwide, and 82% businesses remain concerned about the security risks of employees working remotely. Nearly half of them, 47%, report an increase in the volume, in the severity, and or the scope of cyber attacks in the last 12 months. And those who have ever experienced a breach, 41% had it happen in the last year. So this is almost doubling versus 2019. Speaking about the remote working increase, it is important to ensure the right user has access to the right resources at the right level of trust. So this is the notion of access management that we are talking about here. And organizations become vulnerable to data breaches arising from compromised identities of their employees, especially when they have the possibility to work outside of the company. In such a context, what we call perimeter security is no longer enough. The data itself, whenever it is, has to be protected. We are talking here about data at rest, data in motion, across your network, or data in compute, which are actually processed by any machine onto the network. And here we think that the safest solution is to encrypt the data. So if a hacker steals it, well, it cannot be exploited. Beyond that, cybersecurity is key to sustainability. Increasing identity theft, data leaks, and ransomware attack undermine trust in the digital transformation, while privacy and sovereignty build trust. So identity, we think, is also key for a more sustainable world, and whether this is through physical documents or digital identity managed over a network. Identity in today's world is key to accessing education, healthcare, claiming social benefits, voting, and so on and so forth. So we think, and this is not only Thales, by the way, the United Nations think that providing an identity for all is one of the key sustainable development goals of the planet. Today, the UN, the United Nations, estimate that roughly 1 billion people do not have a legal identity. In particular, when they are young, from the age from birth until people are 10, 15 years old in many countries. So this goal, the goal of the UN, the United Nations, is really to give one for all by 2030. Very significant funding, by the way, is coming from the World Bank through what we call the ID for Development, ID4D, as an acronym initiative, that, by the way, Thales welcomes and supports very much. Just some figures as far as Thales is concerned. I mean, we have been instrumental to deliver civil resistance projects in more than 20 countries, benefiting today over 300 million inhabitants, people in Asia Pacific, in Africa, in Latin America. So leveraging our biometrics and cybersecurity technology. But there is still a lot to be done, and we'll take our fair share, by the way, to do so. But this is really, really an important goal, that is to provide identity since birth of each and every people on this planet. This is not our only activity here. Now if I zoom a little bit on Turkey, we have been in this country for more than 35 years in digital identity and security, but also in transport and defense. Thales has a team of more than 400 people in the country, based in 2 factories in Istanbul, and we have also some sales offices, in particular in Ankara and Istanbul. So, as a group, as a company, we are very happy to contribute to the digital transformation in your country. Digital is a huge opportunity, but it comes, like I said, I think, with huge challenges as well. And if you want to retain one thing, and this is our goal, we want to build a future that we can all trust. And by the way, you can count on us to help you in achieving such a task. So, well, that's the end of my speech. I'm again very, very happy to be with you today, and I hope you and I wish you a very, very nice summit for the rest of the day. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions or what's the process afterwards.
Question came from internet. Hi, Philip. I'm Ibrahim. There's a question on internet. What do you think that is the most needed resources in the process of transforming data into information? This is a very broad question. The infrastructural investments or human training investments. This is a very large question, but this question is directly to you. So
yeah, indeed, this is a very broad question. I would say it's not so much a technology question at this point, because we have today available quite a number of technologies. I mentioned biometrics, I mentioned data protection, I mentioned access management, cloud, hyperscale technology. I think today we have let's say, quite a number of nice technology available. I think the main important resources is really the human capital. Today in the country where we operate, I mentioned what we do in Turkey, but we in France, in the US, in Singapore, I mean, we are lacking the right level of, let's say, people in terms of engineering capabilities. Hiring today is a challenge for many companies. Retaining talents is a challenge. So we have today what we call a war on talent. And I would say the most important thing that economies and countries should develop is to train more people, more engineers in these digital, let's say, around these digital technologies. This is, for me, clearly something which is, I would say, a handicap today, which is not having enough resources, human resources, to develop and install those technologies.
Thank you very much, Philip. We appreciated your contribution. There is no question remaining for you. So we will continue in Turkish.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Hello, Ibrahim Emir. Today we were talking about the importance of data in the digital world, and also the shaping of this digital world with data. And so we will have a 45-minute panel with our participants. So in our content, so we were talking about providing data as a service, and also we were talking about security of data and also AI applications, new ways of doing business and the use of algorithms, and also the importance of data in digital transformation. So I'll be addressing questions for our participants. As you know, the business units, the most important bridge between and IT and also business units is data. So at this point, our title is of great importance in terms of information technologies. I'm Ibrahim Oral Emil from MKK. So I'll present to you our panelists today. And so I'm a graduate of Istanbul Technical University, computer engineering. So we are working. So I'm working as the AI manager, and also business intelligence, and also data governance and corporate solutions. We have Alp Üstündağ from ITÜ, data engineering department chair, and also he's also the chair of the industrial engineering department. And in 2000, he graduated from ITÜ. So he did MBA at Boğaziçi University, and also in Dortmund. In 2008, he completed his PhD in Istanbul Technical University. So we have participants from Istanbul Technical University, of which I am an alumni of as well. So we have associate professors, and so we have the artificial intelligence department chair from Top University. He did his bachelor's degree in electronic engineering department at Middlesex Technical University, and then he received his master's in Missouri University, and also his PhD in system engineering. And also for about 10 years, he stayed in the United States and following his PhD and also about AI algorithms. He is engaged in very important researches, and then he has had publications in more than 130 publications and journals. So our third panelist is the business and also product developer, the development manager of Borsa Istanbul, and he did a master's degree in finance, and also he's working on investment banking. And then, following many years of experience in this field, and he's now working in Borsa Istanbul as a business development manager. After introducing our panelists to you, before we move on to our questions, so let me tell you about my field of responsibility in MKK briefly. So we are within the body of Borsa Istanbul. So we have the central storage and also public enlightenment. So we're in charge of also investor services as well. So I'd like to address my first question to Alp Üstündağ. Algorithm. So how do you think algorithmic transactions will be changed by the artificial intelligence? First, we should talk about algorithmic transactions. So algorithmic transaction operations are certain rules set for the computers, and it is about using these rules for sales and also and for selling and buying, for trading. And so we see that the algorithms have changed at about 80 or 90%. So in 2000, this was about 15%, and this has its momentum has increased incredibly. And if you when you look at developing market, it's about there's a ratio of 34%, and this shows that the developing markets are also following suit as well. When we talk about algorithmic transactions, and when we define it in a conventional way, what we understand is the general rules set by people and also integrating human-made rules to systems in the financial markets for trading, for sales, and also, for example, when so some sales and also buying orders are made. However, when AI is introduced, then things are changing completely. And also some machine learning, which is the main aspect of AI, it defines the rules based on data, and also it builds the algorithms on top of this. And so there's there are rapidly changing technologies, and also so the ability of processing data rapidly is also bringing about some different fields of use as well. Now the algorithms are not created by people, but they are produced automatically within the cell based on data. Let me give you an example, a simple one. Today, there are different asset prices, and we can talk about the effects of these prices on many different variables as well. And so maybe we're talking about 500 or 600 variables. So we're talking about macroeconomic indicators and technical indicators, and also basic indicators, sectoral views, and also peer values as well. And also we can drive social media, web, and also reporting and data as well. There are many different types of data. This type is so evaluating these types of data in a bulk way, and also defining their level of importance automatically, and also integrating these into sales and buying is possible. And also in the coming period, technology will be introduced and will be part of the game, and as intermediary institutions or portfolio management companies will take this technology as a basis when providing directions or to their corporate or public clients. And in Turkey and all around the world, many financial institutions have already started making the necessary investment in the required technology. And this the technology facilities will be provided to their clients. And so they'll be, we can say they'll be adapting themselves to this technology. Thank you very much, Arpay. Murat Bey, in financial applications, so can I ask you about the artificial intelligence models used in financial affairs? So this is your field of expertise. Thank you. So artificial intelligence has many different fields of use in finance. And so depending on what application we focus on, I believe that we should be structuring the model accordingly. So Arpe said, we are talking about, if we want to use artificial intelligence for sales and also buying, so we should be using a structure which follows the trends. And there are some artificial intelligence models which are in line with this. So the problem we call, so this is mainly about the problem we call regression, making a forecast for, about the future. This is what we do. And so depending on how accurately we can forecast the price of an asset, so we have the regression, linear and nonlinear regression models, which are used by statisticians. So these are seen as the most basic artificial intelligence models. So there's not much learning here. They solve the problem from a statistical point of view, but most of the time it works. So, however, if you want to make a smarter forecast, there are some machine learning based models which have been produced recently. They have come to the forefront recently, especially when it comes to deep learning in very complex problems and also different in problems with different types of inputs. This technology is providing us with quite successful results. And of course, this has changed the rules of the game as well in algorithmic transactions. And people pay attention to whose algorithm is better because this makes a real difference. That's why deep learning models are very suitable for the current financial environment. So there are many different types of data flows and many different types of data as well. And in also line with this, there are so there is a very complex structure we can understand with different types of data. And so basic statistical models cannot meet this requirement anymore. There are some multi-layered, for example, data. And so we should be structuring our parameter space in a very different way. And so it makes sense of the different types of data. And so what types of models what type of models do we have? So in deep learning, so we have the multi-layer perceptron. So we have some advanced feeding networks, and these are used very commonly. And so we have neural nets as well, and we have started seeing the transformers and networks more and more recently. And all of these are being used, and also we encounter them more often day by day as our problems get more complex, and so we begin to see deeper algorithms to meet this. So so I see the future day by day. It will be important. And I believe that those who can create a more complex structure will be more successful. And also the forecast problem facing us is not that complicated. If many different companies try to solve the same problem using different algorithms, and even a simple problem can become complicated automatically, and this would also have an impact on the market as well. And and more we will have more complicated algorithms. And so finance is not only about forecasting. For example, we have risk analysis or risk assessment or evaluation or credit evaluation or bankruptcy. If you talk about bankruptcy forecasting, yeah, AI is used for these purposes as well. And we see that artificial intelligence has been quite successful in these areas as well. So this is not a regulation, but it is about classification. It's about whether something is good or bad, or whether a company will go bankrupt or not. So the machine learning system that I just told you about come into play at this point as well. That's why, by its nature, artificial intelligence is suitable and for the financial markets, and I believe that it will become more and more important because as people are excluded and as more automatic systems step in. So, of course, we are obliged to use the artificial intelligence. Of course, this is changing models as well. One last thing, and so the fact that the models are becoming more complicated is also bringing about another problem. And after a while, we could be in a situation where we won't be able to explain these complicated models. And it is easy to explain, for example, basic linear regression. So we know, but in multi-layered structures where the space is transformed again and again, so it won't be very easy to explain what the new layers mean. So, of course, the system is making a decision. However, we won't be able to explain to our interlocutor why the system is making this decision. So, I believe, so the AI models will be used in such applications. And I believe that this is one of the problems that AI will be facing in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sayioğlu. My next question goes to Mr. Akgün. The stock exchanges in the world are getting more and more complex. They are using data streams and different stock exchange. Many companies can do an IPO in different stock exchanges, and we have a global system now where this data is stored centrally, although it is used in a network. But what kind of changes are we seeing in the world right now when it comes to transformation, digital transformation? Let's start with each stage. Gives for different product, different prices, and you have new order books, and there are new transactions, and then you have a transactional book. And for orders which are not been realized are experiencing a change, and for some transactions you need a letter of intent, and if there is a retarded payment, then you will need default, and the data for whom this belongs has to be found, and these indices have different values and they are priced. And when we look at this from this subject in the capital markets, there are different kinds of data, and the brokers are using this data and giving it to their customers so they can make their transactions on a conventional way and use for their own business. In developed countries where you have more stock exchanges which are working in the same area, we see that the data quality is important to make a difference here, and this is also an important part of the data. To see how important data has become, we can see the there's this crisis in London where you had to talk to the London Stock Exchange, had to sell the Italian Stock Exchange because they expected to have a larger profit there, and in the London Exchange called is by it also FTSE Russell, and NYSE it bought Interactive Data Holdings, and then they received some data from this company. The DAX is a little bit is lagging behind, and we see with some new developments that they're trying to catch up, because the stock exchanges tend to differentiate themselves by the quality of their data. And for us as Borsa Istanbul, data is also a very important part of our income, and we are having also reports for that. And we have static data which we are sending to our users and customers, and also for academic purposes. For algorithmic transactions, we have co-location processes, and we have also customers who are investing here, but also for other investors who wanted to use this in their order books. We are giving these analytic data so they can do their transactions, and we have implemented the system 2016, and we're still using this. We are investing more in technology. In March, we had our new technology center, and we are giving our customers and also our service providers this capacity to increase our international capacity. Thank you very much, Mr. Akın. The world is shaping their digital environment with data. Thank you. And I want to give the word to Mr. Alp. What is robo-consultancy? What is the role of robo-consultancy? It is a form of automated and with algorithms defined administration of portfolios. And we see that in the world there is a rapid change. And with the buy-sell orders and algorithms is a way, and there's a structure who makes it takes it to a medium term to lower the risk. And for 2020, we had a market of $1 trillion of robo advisory. And for 2023, there is a forecast of a market value of 3 trillion. So this shows us the potential. And Vanguard is a very important player here. And the amount of assets for 2020 was $238 billion, let me correct. And this shows us how the transformation in the robo-advisory will be. So we have big players here like Betterment Old Wealth Fund, or in the conventional world, there's Charles Schwab or BlackRock, who are dominant in the conventional world. They're doing very important investments here and have a decent market share. The algorithms and models is a dimension which are used to administer these funds, and this leads to less prices. This lowers the costs. So with a commission fee of 0.5 to 1%, and with when you have conventional portfolio management, you have a cost of 1.5 to 2%. This transformation would lead to better numbers and better costs. Of course, another factor here is preferences, because the individual preference, people want to have their individual preferences and select their systems and use these systems to create their own portfolio and administer their portfolio. And not only the final, so to help them to adapt to this system, we need more friendly systems, and these will be subjects we will have to face in the market in short term. So, and the people will have to have an interface of humans, but people can also have a preference of technology, so they can evaluate their assets. Thank you, Mr. Stunda. And to the data types, a question about data types like social media, financial data, or company data. How can they be used together with artificial intelligence? Yes, we have different types of data and information. Of course, they have a meaning in themselves. And what AI is trying to do, find a correlation and connection between these different data sets and come to a correct conclusion and to a decision-making process to make the right call to buy or to sell. So these data types you are talking about, of course, we have the time function here because this is the price data. And there are systems who are making a forecast here. But additionally, the tweets and Facebook posts or blogs or real-time news, when you consider these data also flowing into this system, would have an additional layer of information. But how can we put this inside of an AI model? How to integrate this information? This is a very complex problem, and people are working on this. I gave the example of social media only as an example, but there are also some macroeconomic indicators. When you have how will the prices change when the inflation is made public, because inflation is made public once a year, or the company data, so for example, are published every 3 months. So all of this information has to flow into the AI. Of course, it depends also on the time frame of reference for this AI, because for a long-term AI, the short informations won't be that much important. But if you are working with an AI who makes buy-sell transactions in a very short period of time, these urgent flows are important. For example, tweets from social media users, and someone tweets something about the company. How to interpret this information, and what kind of effect will this have on the price? These aren't questions who have simple answers. Let's assume we have a Twitter flood, which is positive, but can have a negative effect on the price of the stock. So this shows us how important it is to interpret the data or information correctly. How can you do that? You can look at previous data. For example, the psychological tendency of the users who are receiving this information, you can evaluate this by looking at the previous data and then try to teach this to via machine learning to the AI. One of this important subject is here sentiment analysis. The traders or investors they're trying to find the sentiment of the investor in real time. So we can make a correlation between the change of the price and the sentiment of the traders or investors. And if we use it with the help of a time function, then we will have a successful system. But this is by no means easy feat, because under the same circumstances, you can also have different results. But maybe you forgot to put in some specific factors, or there's also another general rule that all of these same conditions will lead to same results. So, like I said, models who are using this different type of data sets will be faster and correcter in their decision making than humans. And the new AI models of the new generation, especially for the finance sector, will use not only the time function of the price, but also the input of the reactions from the social media, especially when we are expecting an important declaration for an important decisions, then the volatility goes up and it leads, and with the change of this volatility, it can maybe lead in a mechanism to limit the damage. So this will use all of these different aspects in the same artificial intelligence system.
Thank you so much. So there's a question about sentiment analysis. So this asked by a member of the audience, and you have answered their question. And my question is for Abdullah Bey. So can you tell us the function and also the importance of algorithmic transactions for the stock exchange? As Alp has just said, algorithmic transactions with more data available, so that the volume of these transactions has increased in all the stock exchanges. Because we are the stock exchange of a developing country, so we haven't reached that level yet. So we are at a lower level, and there's room for improvement. And also, rather than long-term algorithmic transactions, the market is mainly interested in high-frequency transactions. And so this is where the perception of the market is, and also we have on the collocation side, and so these machines can be used for these transactions. Of course, they're subject to certain supervision, so they're supervised by our stock exchange as well. In algorithmic transactions, there are two types of pillars. So one of them is the market building algorithm, and also taking small steps of price and making small trading, and for example, completing the day with almost zero. And also we have arbitrage, and also and there are algorithms working on closing arbitrages in the world as well. And also these are important from the point of view of smaller investors. And so this ensures that the required liquidity is always found in the market. However, for day traders, for day investors, but they have limited opportunity of engaging in arbitrage within the day. That's from the point of view of day trading, and it's all natural that they have a smaller portion of it. There's a smaller portion of making profit, but however, it also ensures the possibility that there's you can always find buyers and sellers. So I believe that it's beneficial in that sense. So, as these are wholly supervised, and so our stock exchanges are always trying to ensure that there's. So let me ask you, the use of AI in the pricing of commodities, and the structure doesn't change much. So we. So
aslında domain kavramını biraz öne koymak lazım. Şöyle
under normal circumstances, as also mentioned by Murat Bey, and also in order to be able to use the techniques mentioned by Murat, so you need to be acting with the right group of variables. For example, if you want to make a forecast about the price of aluminium, then you should be aware of the main variables affecting this market, and you should be aware of and also the stocks and also the premiums, and also features as well. So after defining all the fundamental variables in this market, then you can start the relevant machine learning techniques to this field as well. The market is growing in this aspect as well, not only for buy and sell, and also the artificial intelligence is also used for the management of risk as well. Think about an aluminum company, for example, when they are trading from China and they make a hedge in the London Stock Exchange, and so doing transactions at the right time, and also building the timing of the transaction based off machine learning, and also optimizing the purchasing processes and using the hedging instruments are all very important in this continuity. And also for this is so the same goes for cryptocurrency as well. So the growth in the market in this field is obvious. There are many the size of companies investing in this field is about $900 billion, and also it is and this shows that the market will grow by 10% every year. And when we take a look at the purchase and sell volumes, we are talking about $500 billion a day on the cryptocurrency side. Then such a trend, you cannot ignore such a trend, and also. And so these innovative techniques and methods in this field will reflect on the cryptocurrency world as well, and it will also cause a transition to that part, and also in the commodity markets because of certain needs, these techniques and methods will provide very remarkable benefits as well. Thank you so much. And in a very similar way, I would like to ask Murat Bey to make things even deeper. And I'd like to ask him how algorithmic purchase and sale will be made using artificial intelligence. Thank you so much, Ibrahim Bey. As also explained by Alp and also Abdullah Bey as well, on the algorithmic trading side. So for example, we're talking about 50-day movement, and also it's exceeding 100 days. So it's not entirely based on learning, but we can use some statistical structures, however, but it's also based on learning as well. So the past price moves, for example, are so some models can be created based on certain forecasts about the past price flows as well, and this has started to come to the forefront over the recent times. There are models which are making better guesses and forecasts. So algorithmic trading. So So it is so AI is mainly used for forecasting, and so this can we can talk about regression. So and also it can be the forecasting of price as well. And as I said a moment ago, there are many different models which can which can achieve this as well. But however, there are some artificial intelligence models uh, based based entirely on time. And for example, there are some, for example, feedback networks as well. There's a structure called long-term short memory, and also so we have some recurrent neural networks as well. So they use time series, and also they forecast the next price, and also an algorithmic trading can be achieved based on this. However, the sort of the so but what's the frequency of the trading we're talking about? So are we day trading, or are we, for example, purchasing at the end of the day? So in civic trading, so intraday movements are not that important. For example, and so, and so forecasting a several day oscillation in rate is very important. If the computer power that's available to us is not very big, then such structures would be more suitable for us. For NFT, for example, we need to have a very strong and robust system, and also this also increases the volume as well. So we're talking about certain structures which are regulating the market automatically. However, it's not the only per sell structure. So, for example, there are transactions of some longer term as well, and this can be made on the portfolio side as well. So this is based on making accurate forecasts. So the better you forecast, then a better trading model you will have, a better algorithmic trading better you will have. Thank you very much. In order to complete the loop, I'd like to address a last question to Abdullah Bey before we close our panel. In terms of the importance of sustainability, Borsa Istanbul. So, what have you done about data over the recent times? Over the recent period, I'm sure you have seen our publications as well. We have changed the structure of our sustainability index, and we have also concluded an agree as well, and also so data about sustainability weren't public to everyone, and then as part of the agreement made with sustainability data can be seen by everyone. It's open to the public, and with the scores they receive from there, and they can see whether they'll be able to be part of the index as well. And this makes it possible for us. And so this makes it possible for companies to see their competitors and also the position of their competitors, and this provides a benchmark for them. And on the other hand, and also it makes it for investors to see that what criteria are being met by companies, and then so they can attract investment based on this criteria. And thanks to this new regulation arrangement, and so it has become possible for us to be scoring a wide range of companies, a great number of companies. And I believe that this index will continue to be an important one. And so we are engaged in a very important data initiative called the Compass Initiative, as MKK, an affiliate of Borsa Istanbul. And then, so we will provide some financial information publicly, and also Borsa Istanbul's connects structure. Borsa Istanbul also providing data over its connect structure as well. So we'd like to thank all our panelists and also our viewers as well. I would like to extend my thanks to the Turkish Capital Market Association for organizing this panel as well. And this marks the end of this panel.